Hello, my name is Teacher Janice from GoGo Kid, and this is a mini workshop on how to teach the best trial classes ever. Let's go! Trial Class 101, you are the first impression of GoGo Kid. So you are the first face of the company, and that is a tremendous honor. You might see people on Facebook be grumpy that they have so many trials, and sometimes people are grumpy because sometimes trial students don't show and this affects our pay. But please have a positive attitude about the student no-shows and realize that it's a super honor to be the face of the company, to be the first impression they have, and to have a chance to sign them up and earn your $10 conversion bonus. So trial classes are all positive in this workshop today. Students get one trial class. So it's not about doing a great class and then having someone do another trial later to finish closing the sale. It is on you. You need to sign this family up for GoGo Kid. That is your job in a trial class. The PowerPoint might change before class begins. So you might go to bed seeing a trial that is about fruit, and you might wake up to see that the trial is about space. That is totally normal. So it is really important to be ready for any of the trial PPTs at any time. And at the time that I'm recording this video, you cannot change the PowerPoint during class. So we'll talk about what to do if the level is too hard or too easy for the student that you meet on the other side of the camera. You're going to press start at 00 with your camera open, even if the student is not there. Please do not affect the class timer by waiting until the student shows up, and don't wait to open your camera. It's very important for you to have your camera open right at 00 as a trial teacher. If the student does not log in at all, you didn't see their name, you didn't see their face, you didn't see them log in at all for 15 minutes from the 00 marker, I would type student no-show in the chat box, take a screenshot that shows the URL of the class at the top in the web address bar and your computer clock, and then X out of your browser and leave. So that shows proof that you attended the class in case of an incorrect finish type later. Trial class goals. Your goal is student output. You want the student to be talking as much as possible. So you are going to limit your talking to what is absolutely necessary. And the goal is that parents hear their child talking a lot, and the child hears themselves talking a lot and builds their confidence and sees that they really can speak English very, very well with your help and support. You want students to feel successful, and you want them to have improvement, which means you're going to correct some errors in a very positive way. Parents want to know that you're listening for pronunciation errors using your expertise as a native speaker, and that you're going to help the student to improve. So they want to hear those corrections. That's part of the draw of this one-on-one time with a native speaker. We want the students to have fun and be excited to come back for more. But your objective in a trial class is to sign them up, and it's really important to remember that. Please remember, you do not need to finish all the slides. Use the slides that are there to accomplish those goals. If some slides you need to stay on for longer, do that. If you need to skip some because they're not appropriate for that student, you are allowed to do that in a trial class only. The objective of a trial class is not to master the content. It is not to be an expert on space or to memorize the names of all the toys. It is to have fun and feel successful and sign up for GoGo Kid. So the goals of a trial class are different from that of a core class, and it's important to remember that when you go in to teach a trial class. Please remember to be flexible. These are students who have never done this before. They may be placed at the wrong level. They may not need the same thing that the student needed last time you taught the same trial PowerPoint. So remember that although you have taught the It Is Red trial hundreds of times, this is not just a trial class. This is that student's only trial class. So it needs to be fresh and exciting like the first time you've ever taught it. It is not a trial class, it is their trial class. Make it very personal and just for that one student that you just had the chance to meet. Make sure they're having fun. Laughter is a great sign. You want parents, whether they're in the room or in another room, to hear their child laughing while they're working with you. This is a fun extracurricular experience. It is rigorous and academic, but we want them to be having fun because it's an elective and we want them to come back for more. We want to see fun and laughter and smiling. Your goal is to sign them up. So those are the basics. Let's talk about how to do this with no parent present. So there are good things and bad things about all of the different scenarios we see involving parents. Let's celebrate some things about having a parent there. The good news is you get to control the pace of your lesson and you get to decide how much wait time the student needs before they respond. There is one native speaker model and it's you. That is wonderful about having no parent present. And you really get to connect with the student at the student level. So you are a trained professional in working with children. You know what that student needs, and you're able to do whatever you need to do to bond with them. What are some challenges for having no parent present? Well, sometimes we can't see the student. Sometimes we see only the top of their head, and you can't see their mouth for pronunciation. Sometimes there's a technology issue. Maybe their camera is not on, or we can't hear them. Maybe they're wearing headphones, but they're not plugged in. Maybe they're not close enough to their microphone. Maybe they're fidgeting with their microphone, and you can't hear what they're saying. All you hear is the ambient noise. With no parent present, it is sometimes a challenge to solve these sort of technology situations. So that can be a little bit challenging. Sometimes you will have a parent present. That comes with its own celebrations and challenges. One of the great things about having a parent present is that you can use that translating chat box to send a message to them without necessarily the message going to the student. So sometimes you can say, Dad, he's doing so well. If Dad looks nervous and unsure and isn't sure of their role to help. If they look nervous, you can write, this is completely normal. He's doing great. Or you can say, can you please move the camera? I can't see the student. So sometimes you can write something in the chat box to help the family become comfortable. She can draw on the screen. Could be a great tip that then lets the parent help the child. And then everyone feels successful and they've worked together. A parent can help you with tech support, one of the challenges we talked about on the previous slide, and sometimes they can help with classroom commands right at the beginning, just nudging the student and telling them to repeat. You certainly can use your master ESL techniques to teach a student the classroom commands, but sometimes because you only have that 25 minutes together, a parent might accelerate that by giving the student a hint in their native tongue what you want them to do. And this can help with students who are just not understanding that they can circle or click with the mouse. So a parent might be able to help you just give a little tip in classroom commands. And the parent is the one who's going to make the decision whether to sign them up. So don't get nervous when there's a parent present. Be honored that they're going to see what an amazing teacher you are and what a great class this is, because they're the one who makes the decision to sign the student up. Having a parent present can also have its own challenges. Sometimes we have two different people modeling and it's not the same. So you might say a word one way and the parent might say it another. You might say a sentence and they might say a similar sentence, and then the student doesn't know what to do. That can be very frustrating. Sometimes you and the parent have a different expectation. So that could be in wait time. It could be in terms of the student's activity level and what could be allowed for behavior in your classroom. And so sometimes there's a little bit of a struggle there when you have a parent present. And then one of the challenges that I experience a lot is volume. I often have parents that are closer to the microphone than the students. So this happens a lot with my families on an iPad where all I can hear is Dad and I can't hear the student even though the student is talking. So you have to find the respectful way to navigate those situations. But if you haven't taught any trial classes yet, or you haven't had this scenario, maybe in today's mini workshop, you can just kind of have your wheels turning about what you would do in these situations and how you might handle it. Sometimes you open the camera for a trial class and it's a party. There's everyone. Maybe in Hannah's trial, there is Mom and Dad, and Alex comes to visit. Yay, her brother. And then her brother has a friend over. Look, Amy's here too. And Amy brought her brother Jack. So this does happen where there are multiple students and a whole family so excited about this experience that they all want to watch your class and take it together. There can be really exciting things about that. Sometimes you have to trust the family that the student may not talk to you if they're alone, but maybe with their brother or sister there, they feel comfortable enough to speak and show you all the English that they know. Also, maybe Jack didn't know that Go-Go Kid was amazing, but when he saw Hannah having so much fun, maybe he will sign up for his own trial class later. So try to embrace and celebrate the positive things about this very challenging teaching situation. Sometimes these classes can be noisy and chaotic. Sometimes you're not sure which student you're supposed to be teaching, and it's difficult to personalize the experience. And these are the feedbacks that are the hardest for me to write because I'm so used to addressing my feedback to Hannah, but I'm really not sure if it was Hannah's lesson or Jack's. So it's hard to comment on the experience for that student. You just do the best you can in all of these situations, but as you prepare for a trial class, please think through these scenarios. What will I do if this student's alone? What will I do if this student has a parent? And what will I do if I open the camera to more people than I expect? Speaking of preparing for your trial class, all the trial PowerPoints are on Freshdesk. So please go and look at them and prepare them. Get all of your props ready now. That PowerPoint could change at any time. You are expected to be ready to teach any trial PowerPoint at any time. So prep them all now, especially if you're a new teacher waiting for your first class. It's probably going to be a trial class. Learn the trial PowerPoints now while you have the time. So all of my trial props and all of my trial rewards are in one box on my desk, and I never really put them away because I can teach trials on a daily basis. So those are the props that I keep out all the time, and I personally keep all of my props within arm's reach. That's just my style. I have a dresser next to me where I can pull out some 3D props. In the bottom drawer, I have my 2D rewards. I have things that I use all the time, like characters or alphabet books, all within reach. I have a pretend mouse that I can use to teach students to circle without using the mouse that I'm actually using on the screen. So all of my frequently used props are extra close to me, but I can actually reach everything in my classroom from where I sit. That's just part of how I personally set up my classroom. I would strongly recommend learning all the trial PowerPoints and keeping all of the props and rewards that you will use for those in one place because you're going to teach these particular classes all the time. Greetings are very, very important. Really watch the camera in a trial before 0-0, before you open your camera, and try to understand the student beforehand. If they're a really high energy student, welcome them in a high energy way. If they're really shy and nervous, don't do that because you'll scare them away. Meet their energy level and work really hard during the greeting to get them comfortable. Please use their name if at all possible. Personalize that experience and make sure they know that your attention is fully on them. Again, it's not a trial, it's their trial. It's very personal. During the greeting, what you're really doing is getting them comfortable and assessing their level. So you know the space PowerPoint, you know the types of things you have planned. Meet this student and decide, is that going to be a match for them? Is this going to be way too easy? Are they going to be offended? Or is this going to be really, really challenging? And what am I going to do about it? During my greeting, I'm trying to do an assessment because I don't want to leave the greeting section of the lesson until I really know my student very well. There's no reason to rush in a trial. Comfort is the top priority for me. You don't have to finish all the slides. You don't have to finish all the slides. So take the time, make a connection, get comfortable with them. If you have a student that's comfortable with you, they will speak so much more later in the lesson, and it will be easier for you to move through the material. Be careful in the lower levels with the typical greeting, how are you? Hello, my name is Teacher Janice. How are you? Because they've probably been rehearsing, I am 6 years old and working so hard on it. And now you're in a pickle. Now you either provide the correction and take a hit to their self-esteem before you even get started, or you ignore it and go on, which makes the parent think that the child isn't going to get pronunciation correction or correction from you in general. So I personally avoid the greeting, how are you and how old are you? In our first 2 levels of trials, I wait until the upper level students where I'm really positive that the student's going to have success with that question. I will teach it to a lower level student, but I'll teach it after we have some rapport and I know a little bit more about them. I just personally feel that even with props to support the learning and help them understand what question I'm asking, I think that that question can be a little bit of a trap. And when I do ask it at a lower level greeting, I often regret it. So that's just a tip from me to you. We're going to talk very briefly in this mini workshop about the zone of proximal development, but this is Lev Vygotsky from educational psychology class, and he talks about how there's this red zone of things that are way too hard that you can't do, and there's this black zone of things that are too easy, and you're not going to do well in that situation either. And we are constantly assessing and adjusting to keep the lesson in this green middle zone as long as possible. So we want it to be challenging so they learn something, but with our support. So we want them to need our help, but we want to be positive what we're asking them to do, they can be successful with. So if a trial class is too hard, you're going to use nonverbal prompting. You're going to give them a clue with a confident sentence that you've already practiced. You're going to start a sentence for them to remind them how to do it. I see a, and you're going to give them some nonverbal cues. Sometimes if we start a sentence for a student, they'll be confident that the answer they have in their mind is one to take a risk and say, because we've given them that assurance that it's correct. When a student is not performing well, the first thing I do is I slow down. Because sometimes, especially with technical struggles, we get going a little too fast. And sometimes just taking a breath and slowing down my speaking speed will automatically be a game changer, and I'll find my student is performing much better. I'm going to shorten my sentence length. I'm going to give them less to process and see if that helps. And I'm going to encourage, because the second that student doesn't think they're doing a good job, we're going to start to get even less student output. And it kind of becomes a snowball situation that gets worse and worse. These are some things to try when it's too hard for the student. It's just as bad when the lesson is too easy. No one's going to sign up for GoGo Kid if they think they know everything and there's nothing to learn. So if the word is red, turn it into a sentence for them. It is red. I see red. I see a red hat. I see a big red hat. Find the sentence length that works for that student and use that sentence length to challenge them. You're still teaching red, which is the content objective, but you're teaching it in a way that's at an appropriate difficulty level for the student you assessed in your grading. The easiest way to do two-part dialogue is for the teacher to ask a question and the student to answer. Some of our students are ready to flip roles. Have them ask the question, even if you have to prompt it in the chat box for an older student who can read. Have them ask the question to you, and you answer it. Our older students love to be the teacher. Let them show what they know. Let them shine. Let them find out about your world. Show them the connections that they're going to make across the ocean. The next level of difficulty is an open-ended response, so not a yes or no question, not something where their answer is printed on the screen, but maybe an opinion question. That really makes them comprehend the question, think of an appropriate answer, and construct the sentence using what they know about grammar. So that increases the difficulty level quite a bit. And if I have a student who can do all of those things, then we're going to add an element of speed, and we're going to make it a speed challenge, which can be really, really fun for our high-flying students. Sometimes it is just right, and you are going to just enjoy your time, and the student is going to enjoy it too. So you're really thinking, was it too easy? Was it too hard? Was it just right? This is in my mind the whole lesson. If it isn't the right level, this is a sentence that are two sentences that I put in my feedback to kind of flag to the sales team that they need to really look at the level of this student, but in a polite and professional way. So I write, I was so grateful for the opportunity to work with your student today. Your Chinese teacher will find the perfect level of challenge for you before our next class together. So I still want them to sign up. I'm acknowledging that we both know this was too hard for this student. We both know it was too easy. It doesn't mean you shouldn't do GoGo Kid because it's not a good fit. We know, and we noticed, and we're on it. We have a system, and we'll take care of your student. And sometimes it's just nebulous a message enough that maybe they'll ask the sales team, I don't think the level was just right today. What do you think? And then they can all work together and talk through the process of finding the best entry point for that student. So that's a 2-sentence feedback tip that I use that helps me make sure that I've done my due diligence as a teacher and shared what I learned while working with that student, because it is really important to get them into the right level when they start. Closing the lesson is just as important as that greeting we talked about at the beginning. The last 2 slides of every trial class are a song and the goodbye slide. So you can count on that. If there's 18 slides, you know that 18 is goodbye and 17 is the song. No matter how many slides you have in your trial, as you pace your time, you know there's a goodbye slide and a song. Know how to skip ahead in the slides to have a clear closing. If you're not going to get to the 4 slides before the goodbye slide, you want to go to the bottom of the screen, click on the number of the slide you're on. It will open up a text box. You can type the number slide you want to be on, push enter, and it will skip ahead. So if you don't have time for that song, know what slide number the goodbye slide is and skip right to it. You don't want to be going through the slides in front of the family and look unprepared. So use that tip. Know what the last 2 slides are and know how to skip to have a clean close and make it look like the PowerPoint was perfectly timed with what that student needed. If you need to stretch things out a little bit, make a huge deal of the stars. Count them together. Use theatrics to give the last star. It's okay to do those things to really get the timing just right. And celebrate the rewards you built together. If we've been earning ornaments for this Christmas tree the whole time, at the end, let's count them together. Wow, you got so many. 1, and encourage them to count with you. It's still an educational part of the lesson and it shows them that this was an important thing that you worked on together. They've been earning something and wow, look at what you did. You earned 6 ornaments and 5 stars. Great job. You want them to know at the end of class for sure that they did a great job. Take a moment and celebrate the time you had together. Make sure they're really clear that this was a successful experience and that you're proud of them. And then maybe it's not on the slides, but teach them how to say thank you or thank you, teacher, or even how to say goodbye. That's such a beneficial phrase that even if they don't continue on with GoGo Kid, they're going to be grateful that they learned a little piece of English today that's very useful to them. And if a parent comes back over during your closing and sees them saying, thank you, teacher, goodbye, they show this comfort in the online classroom and the parent knows that this went really well and wants to sign them up to come out for more. So a strong closing is really important. That's usually the part where our parents who have wandered away come back to see how it went. So close strong. Trial feedback is your last responsibility. When the class is over, you are not done. Your feedback is just as important. So you need to close the sale. You need to sign them up. You need to give the sales team some personal details from the lesson. If they weren't able to watch your class, give them some tidbits that they can say to a family. I know this went really well because teacher Janice told me that you could already write on the screen and speak in a 4-word sentence. The sales team can take that from your feedback and have a better conversation with the parent if you give them the tools they need to help you. Put on your parent hat when you write your trial feedback and think about what you would want to read after this experience. You want assurance that your student did well, and you want to know what specifically this child, your child, will get out of signing up for GoGo Kid. Why this is a perfect fit for them. So really personalized trial feedback. Put on your parent hat and think about what you would want to hear after that brave trial class experience. Talk about hopes and dreams. Talk about things the student hasn't yet mastered that you're super excited to work on together here at GoGo Kid in their next class after they enroll. And sign with your show name so they can come back to your classroom again. Your show name is in the upper right-hand corner of your teacher portal. Mine is Janice MY. So I sign all my feedback, teacher Janice MY, so that they can find me in the directory and book another class with me. And that's how I keep my schedule full. Sometimes a trial student will become a core student for you. Sometimes there won't be room on my schedule now, but I'll see them as a familiar face later. If you don't tell them their show name, they're brand new to the platform, and they may not even know where to look to find you again. So make sure you find out your show name and start signing your trial class feedback with it. If you're always lost on how to write feedback, we talk about trial feedback and more in the feedback workshop. So go ahead and check that out either in mini workshop or in the big workshop form. Thank you so much for taking the time to improve your practice. Trial classes are really important at GoGo Kid because they are how we get new students and continue to help the student base grow for all of us. Trial classes are an honor. They are the chance that you have to be the first face the student sees at GoGo Kid. Thank you for coming to the mini workshop. We hope to see you in many, many live workshops soon. Happy teaching!